And hello there, everybody, and welcome to Spiritually Speaking with Lauri Albert. I am your host, Lauri Albert, and tonight's show is going to be so much fun. You guys are just you're gonna love this. I promise you. My special guest today is going to be Caren Pofsky. She is a life coach, and I have to tell you, I've known her, I'll just full disclosure, I've known her for a really, really long time, like many, many years. And she was like born a life coach, right? She's one of those people that's just, everybody loves this woman, right? So anyway, we'll get into that in a minute. I wanted to say hello to you. I want to give you the spirit line number, so in case you want to call for a reading or if you have a question for Caren or whatever. But if I could just ask, don't call just yet, because I want to give you a couple of things, right? I want to talk to you about a couple of things. So spirit line is 818-835-5885. And yeah, so that's good. But I wanted to tell you guys, with everything that's been going on with the hurricane, and I really wanted to find something positive to say about this, because it's just so frustrating. And I'm in Los Angeles, and there's nothing I can do to help. I mean, I can give money. Okay, so, money is money, right? But you know what? I can tell you guys the positives of it. Right? Because we have to find positives. And I'm sure that a lot of people, if you guys have been watching the news at all, you've seen that neighbors are helping neighbors. Texans are helping Texans. People are going there. People are going to the hard-hit areas with boats to go to try to save people. And you know what? That just gives me so much hope for society, So I really wanted to try to stay positive, and I just wanted to share that with you guys, because I think that I've talked about this in other shows, as a collective society, we need to try as hard as we can to focus on the positives, right, in life. And it's a really crappy situation, and it's horrible, and it's worse than Katrina, or I shouldn't say that. It's probably just as bad people were losing everything. So yeah, so it's just as bad, right? But, I really just wanted to say that. And so let's try to look at the positives. And I got to be honest, the fact that during Katrina, there was no social media, or it was very slim pickings back then. And now it's like, people are able to call out with their phones and like ask for help and all this stuff. So yeah, so that was really what I wanted to say about that. The other thing I wanted to talk about, and I wanted to give you guys the horoscope this week for Christopher Renstrom, rulingplanets.com. And I wanted to read this to you guys because it's kind of cool. Every week he's got something like really cool to say, right? So this is for this week, August 28th, which is yesterday, through September 3rd, okay? And this is our collective horoscope for the week, okay? Mars trines Uranus on September 2nd. This is a volatile, revolutionary energy. That's kind of frightening, but it's all good, right? But instead of knocking idols off pedestals, Mars will encourage you to rise to the occasion of yourself. That's kind of cool, right? Mars isn't only about conflict and violence, although it is named after the Roman god of war. Mars is also about heroism, right? And it's interesting in considering what I was just talking about. Heroism, and when it's in the fire sign like Leo, then it tends to bring out the best in people. So that's so heartening. I just felt so good about that. I was really happy about that. Shirk the call. Oh, wait, what do I want to say? Oh, when you're fired up like you don't pass the buck, shirk the call to duty or slip away into the background. You stand stall. What does that mean? You stand tall. I think I probably typed that wrong. You stand tall in who and what you are. You may not feel like you're up to the challenges that life will be throwing out to you this week. Yesterday. And you probably aren't. But the amazing thing is that you will meet them, and in meeting them, you will grow in ways that you never imagined that you could. And that's just so positive, right? We're trying to stay positive here, right? So yeah, I just thought that was really fantastic. We're going to rise up and meet our challenges, and it's going to be great. It's going to, we can do this, right? Believe in it. So anyway, so I wanted to say all of that stuff because it really goes with everything that I want to talk about with my dear friend, Caren Pofsky. And so I'm just going to go ahead and introduce her right now. Her name is Caren Pofsky. She is a life coach. And like I said before, she is, full disclosure, we've been friends for a very long time, probably like 20 years, somewhere around there, somewhere around 20 years or so. And she's one of those people that is just, she's about everybody else. You know, she just really cares. So I'd like to introduce, come on and sit down, Caren. Yay.
Hello.
Thank you for coming. This is
Thank you
so
for
great.
having me.
You know, it's funny because when I decided to do a show, I tend to hang out with people that, you know, that like to talk about the law of attraction, or like to talk about spirituality, or like to talk about all this stuff. And this, she's no different than that. I mean, we sit and we're kind of, I don't know, we're kind of special that way, I think. You know, we
kind of soul sisters.
Soul sisters that way, right? Because
yeah.
we like to talk about what's right in our lives, and we don't like to give energy to the bad things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So at any rate, welcome, Caren. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Well, of course, I wanted first to ask you, because I think a lot of people, first of all, you can call in now. So the spirit line number is area code 818-835-5885. And if you want to call in for a reading, a psychic or mediumship, or if you want to ask Caren a question, she's quite intuitive in her own right. And you can call in right now. So yeah, I'll open
even
the line.
for a little coaching.
Or even for a little coaching. Yeah, absolutely. That's really what I meant. So, so at any rate, I have a feeling that a lot of people aren't exactly clear on what life coaching is.
Mm-hmm.
So can you tell us what life coaching is? How does it differ than therapy?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
How does that work?
So it's very different, and yet there are some similarities depending on the coach and the person.
Okay.
So coaching can go very deep, but coaching is much more proactive. So there's a great analogy that I heard. If a bike is broken, a therapist is going to approach that bike and say, "What happened to you? You poor bike. What's your story? Let's talk about it. I want to understand." You know, a coach is going to approach that bike and say, "What's wrong? Let's fix it. Let's move forward."
Okay.
So that's a pretty good analogy to understand.
Okay. Not knocking therapy, though, because there is a time and a place for that.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know.
Absolutely.
We've all been there. Well, I shouldn't say we've all been there, but
no, there is
some of us
absolutely a place for therapists.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If you're in trauma, if you're in crisis, if you're somebody who is really just stuck and you need to move past something that's holding you back, it's very beneficial to go back and understand why those things happen so that you can heal it and move forward.
Right.
A coach's job is more about, this is where I am. How do I get from here to here? Right. How do I move? How do I inch forward and get the things that I want in my life? I'm ready to get to work.
Right.
People that are up for coaching are people that are ready to roll up their sleeves, do the work,
so great,
and see some results.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not, some of my clients, I will say to them, look, you know, if you're sad and you want to be sad, then let's spend our time together being sad and talking about that. Sometimes people need to go through that.
Yeah.
But what I will say to my clients is, look, you have this time. This is your time. So you have a choice to either sit in this sadness, which we can absolutely do, or move forward.
Well, I think there's a time and a place, and you and I have had this conversation many times. There's a time and a place to sit in the sadness for a period of time.
Yes.
You know, I mean, if you have a breakup, or if you, you know, lose somebody close to you, or something like that, there's a time and a place to sit in the sadness for a while.
Absolutely.
So what is your recommendation on getting out of that? Like, how do you get people out of that? Like,
well, I think a lot of it is...
And everybody's different, I guess, too.
For sure. And a lot of it is intuitive. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really up to the person. You know, it's very important, I think, to honor your sadness, honor your pain.
Right.
And not just want to push the fast forward button to get through it.
Sure.
But the more willing you are to, and I've experienced this myself, but I've also experienced this with clients that I'm coaching, that the more willing you are to sit in the pain and really deal with it, the more likely you will be to be able to move through it, if that makes sense.
Well, right, because you're allowing yourself. I mean, people always say, or I shouldn't say always say, but a lot of people have said, like, oh, well, we're not supposed to be sad. We have to be happy all the time and stuff. So you don't allow yourself.
Right.
We think that we're not supposed to allow ourselves to sit in sadness for any period of time.
Well, look, it's uncomfortable. Nobody likes to be sad.
Yeah.
We don't like to be in pain.
Mm-hmm.
But the trick that a lot of people are missing is really just that. The more you're willing to sit with it and honor yourself and love yourself in those moments, you will be able to get to the other side. But you can't skip that step.
Right.
You can't just say, I'm sad, I'm just going to change the channel and feel better. It just doesn't work that way. Because what will happen is you'll change the channel, but it's still lurking and it's not handled. And it will come up.
And then you push it to the back and then we deal with it later. Like I think you were just sort of saying, you end up dealing with it later anyway.
Absolutely.
So, isn't that interesting? Mm-hmm. Love that. We could talk about all this stuff all day, right? So that is kind of the difference of what, between a life coach and a therapist. Now, in your sessions, do you deal with like intuition? Do you because Caren, I believe, is very intuitive, although she doesn't utilize it the same way I do. And that's what's so cool about Caren, right? Is that, I know that I'm a medium and I'm a psychic. And so I deal with my intuition that way. Caren is really an empath, and Caren can tell what's going on. Like she could just, because we know each other so well, she'll just, you know what, what's wrong? Like what's going on today, kind of thing. So, how does intuition come into play?
Well, let me say something interesting about that's just coming up for me as you're saying that.
Okay.
In terms of intuition, that for me, intuition on a personal level is trusting myself in moments.
Oh, absolutely. We talked about that on this show in our first few episodes. Yeah. Trusting yourself.
Trusting myself. So when I'm in a session with a client and they're dealing with some profound sadness and pain, my human instinct is, how do we fix this and get this person out of it and make them feel better? Right. But as I've learned to really just get quiet with myself and allow those people the space to be where they're being, like we were just talking about, to me, that's intuition. It's listening to that. Even though it's uncomfortable maybe for me and for them in that moment, if I listen to my intuition that this is where they need to be, then I trust that and I follow it and it guides me. And it's very comforting.
Right.
Right. And the more that I've practiced that, the more I learn to really trust that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answers your question, but intuition plays a huge part. Yeah. And for me, it's practice. I mean, and you and I have talked about this for years, but it's that we know, Yeah. Someone asked me the other day, what advice would you give to people who are going through a divorce? And I said, trust your gut. Yeah. You just, you have the answers within you. It's listening to it. It's trusting that part of yourself, which is, it's not a way that a lot of us are, wired. Yeah. So it's kind of rewiring and retraining ourselves in a way.
Yeah. Okay. So that leads me to, and you can speak directly to the people here because, I want you to tell them your story. Caren has an amazing story. So go ahead. How is it that you came to do this work?
Wow. Well, it's a long story.
And actually, do we want to ask the question, or do you have a specialty? Do we want to start with that first?
Okay. So let me answer your question, and I'm going to try to put it in a nutshell because I know we're limited on time, and just talk about the things that are the most important. So I'm focusing on divorce and transition coaching. Reason being, and what inspired that is, as I was going through my divorce and my transition, I put my head down. I surrounded myself with my team. Lauri was one of them. Really, I mean, I got my army around me. I remember saying, I'm going to fall apart, guys. I need you to catch me. I don't know if you remember that. But I just surrendered to the love and support. Had a therapist. I did what I needed to do to take care of myself. And it was a really tough couple of years. during that time, I just did what I needed to do for myself. But as I was starting to emerge from that, I noticed that I was inspiring people. And it started to kind of blow my mind. I'm just getting through what I'm getting through. I'm not trying to, be a hero here.
Right.
I'm just trying to, get through this mess. And I started to pay attention to that. And I started along the road to just hear stories from people about how I was just inspiring them, being me. Yeah. So reflecting on it, I get that I'm unique in the way that I handled. And I don't mean that in a self-gloating kind of way, but just that's, it's just something that I realize I have to give back. And if there's one person out there listening to this, or one person that I can touch in even the smallest way to let them know that, number one, even though you feel like you're buried under the rubble, you can't breathe. You don't know who you are. You're completely undefined as a human being.
Wow.
And yet, it's possible to, on the other side of that, meet a better, more powerful version of yourself than you ever even knew existed.
Yeah.
I didn't know that back then. And if you would have told me that, I would have thought
you probably did, to be honest.
You probably did.
I remember when she was going through this, and I remember having discussion I see this for you, because I am the psychic, right? I see this and I see that. And she's like, you're crazy.
How long did you want me to start my own business?
Years. Years I wanted her to start her own business, and it took her forever to do. But you know what? All in good time. I mean, it's, she trusted her gut, bottom line.
But it took time. It took patience. It took trusting. It took a long time. So it's 6 years now that we're divorced. And we were married for 17 years, and I'm eventually going to have a website, and all my, everything about me will be up online.
We're under maintenance, but if you want to contact Caren, you can call. If you have a question for Caren right now, you can call at 818-835-5885. We're taking live calls, so please feel free to call if you'd like. And you can also, just for the time being, you can reach Caren through me. So if you would like to have she would go ahead and offer your...
Yeah, so basically the way that it works is I would be happy to offer a complimentary session to anybody who's interested in just sort of dipping their toe into the coaching process and seeing what it's like. And it's not for everybody, I will say that, because it can be challenging. I mean, you have to be ready to do the work. You kind of have to be tired of where you are and just ready to kind of dust it off and move on and create something new. And everyone gets to that point at different places, at different times, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it took me years to get to the point where I was ready to do anything other than therapy and the courses, that I did, and the self-development and all that stuff. So, does that answer your question? Was that a good nutshell?
Well, it does. Okay. It does. So, if I was going to do, I've always been fascinated with life coaching, because it seems to me to be, and this is just my perspective, right? It doesn't have to be anybody else's, but this was my perspective of it seems to be more hands-on. Do you give homework and stuff?
No, that's a great question. That's a great question. Yes. So absolutely. At the end of every session, I send the client a detailed email with, and I'm pretty, what's the right word for it? I'm very detailed because I have another business where I've developed myself in that way. So yes, so to answer your question, at the end of every session, so each session's an hour. Okay. And at the end of every session, I write a comprehensive, detailed email to the client, kind of recapping everything that we talked about.
Right.
There's always action steps at the end of each email or at the end of each session, and the client comes up with what they want to be held accountable for. So I'm not saying this is what you need to do. A coach's job is to notice that the person that you're working with has all the answers already.
Right.
So I don't have any answers.
Yeah.
I'm just asking the right questions to get you to, figure it out or say it and say, gosh, I didn't realize. Oh, yeah, I could do that. I could do this. I could, right?
That's so great.
So by the end of every session, there's action steps that the client has come up with on their own. And I put all of those in an email. And then, yeah, oftentimes there'll be journaling exercises or different homework assignments based on what's happening. I'm also known for, listen to this podcast or listen to this book, or, different resources based on what that person is going through. Right. So, yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
You know what? And to me, that, because it's interactive, that kind of means something to me. I like that.
It's fun. And let me just add one caveat is that it's fun.
Okay.
So, okay. Let me just say that I try to make it fun.
Yeah.
It's not always fun. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that a lot of people are dealing with, but I try to come from being playful and having fun and challenging people, but at the same time, bringing out the fun, where therapy, not so much fun.
Yeah.
Because you're dealing with some major stuff.
Well, you can be, yeah.
So coaching is more like, well, let's just play.
Yeah.
Like, what does that look like? To
just
sort of try new stuff on.
Yeah.
It's a little more playful.
Okay.
Yeah,
I like
wanted
that.
to add that.
Okay, so now what I'd like to do is, I was thinking that we could sort of talk about, let's challenge ourselves a little bit, and let's figure out ways to do different things in our lives. If let's talk about ways to create more happiness in our life. Let's start with that.
Okay.
What would be a tip that you could give somebody to create more happiness in their life? Just generate some more happiness.
Well, my go-to is gratitude.
Of course.
And Lauri and I, if I can share with everybody.
No, this is good.
We've slipped a little, I must say, but we developed a very powerful gratitude exercise years ago.
Years ago.
Yeah. Maybe 10 years ago. Yeah. A long time ago. And the concept of it was, and what's beautiful is we still have this open space with each other. So every so often, one of us will send each other an email. I'm grateful, and we just
we'll tell them what it is.
Yeah. So anyway, it's basically that. It's just listing out what it is that you're grateful for, but it's having a gratitude accountability partner.
Yeah.
That is listening to it. And by the way, there's no response that you're looking for.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Neither one of us are looking for feedback or answers or fix. It's just holding the space for gratitude. It's beautiful. So,
and that's the cool thing is because it's holding that. It's just I many times, because we did this daily for years and years,
Yeah.
And so what was cool about it was, like you said, and I want to sort of punctuate this, is that there's no response necessary. I mean, it's just I am grateful for, and it was, sometimes it was I'm grateful for my coffee. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for my husband and my dog and my daughter and my, and blah, blah, blah. But then occasionally it would also be, I'm grateful that I, because I went through some health stuff before. I'm grateful that I feel good today.
Yeah.
I mean, physically,
Right.
I mean, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for that. And so it can be whatever it is, and that's, I think, so important.
It's a game changer. Gratitude
it really is.
And let me just piggyback. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
On what you were talking about in terms of what's happening in Texas. I heard something today on CNN that brought me to tears. This woman got on CNN and she was talking about racism and how it is non-existent right now in Texas.
Oh,
people are helping one another.
That is so awesome.
And it brought her to tears, and it brought me to tears, because she said, I've never seen anything like this. She said, there's no division. It was so beautiful. And you know what?
That gives me chills.
I know.
I mean, I swear to God.
But in that moment, I thought, that's what it is. So when y'all look at my website, which will be up soon, my whole thing, my tagline is, there's beauty in the mess. And that's what I thought of when I heard that. I thought, there's beauty in the mess. There's always beauty in the mess. When tragedies happen like this, it's so beautiful to see everybody coming together to help each other.
Yeah.
Yes, it is awful what's happening, but look at the love and support, like you were saying. So
I know, isn't it amazing?
And gratitude's a game changer.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And you know what?
Oh wait, I have to say one more thing.
Oh yeah,
sorry.
Go.
Say one more thing. So you can't think two thoughts at the same time. So you asked, how do you switch from being, however you put it, bummed out to happy, right?
Yeah.
So that's how you do it. Because guess what? You can't think two things at the same time. So if you're sitting in traffic and you're not happy and you're going to be late. And if you all of a sudden start getting present to gratitude, guess what? You're going to be smiling. You're going to be waving at people. You're going to be letting people in front of you.
Not flipping them off.
Yeah. And guess what? You'll probably arrive on time. It's a game. Gratitude is a game changer. It's an energy changer. It's a perspective changer. And it is the road to happiness. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
No, and you know what? You're absolutely right. And that brings me up to the 17-second game. Yeah. From Abraham Hicks. If you're not familiar with Abraham Hicks, big story to tell about that. So I won't get into too much of it, but you can Google Esther Hicks and Abraham. Okay, I'll just leave it at that for now. We'll do another show on just Abraham Hicks, and it'll be kind of interesting. But she does this. She created, I don't even know, this game that you play with yourself, and it's a gratitude game. And basically, you just think of something that it's like manifesting actually too. But it's like if you think of something that you're grateful for, or you think of something you want to manifest for 17 seconds. And you just 17 seconds of just thinking about that thing, like brings it to fruition that much faster. And it's like what you're saying, if you get present to gratitude, if you get present to what you're grateful for in your life, then it becomes like this whole other
magnet.
And you can transform your entire way of being. So I just love that. I just love that. And
it reminds me of Viktor Frankl.
Oh, I don't know who that is.
He's the one who was in the concentration camp.
Oh, who's that?
And what was the book? I know someone out there is going, oh, I know what it is. Anyway, I will think of it.
Yeah.
But anyway, he was in a concentration camp, and he worked with his mind to basically, it's so powerful. I mean, what the mind can do.
Yeah.
And gratitude in any moment is a game changer.
And we also used to do this little thing, and we didn't do it that often, but like if somebody in our little group was like upset about something, we'd be like, drop and give me 5, instead of like push-ups, we were talking about, tell me gratitude. 5 things you're grateful for, quick, right now, kind of thing. So
one little story on gratitude. So my son, who's now 20, every night when we went to bed, from as little as I can imagine,
we're getting a call.
Let me just
hold
say
on
real
to
quick.
hold on to the story.
Okay.
Hold on to the story, and we'll take this call.
Okay, cool.
And then we'll come back up with that.
Okay.
Hi there. You are on the air with Lauri Albert and Caren Pofsky. Who am I speaking to?
Hi. I was wondering if I could get a psychic reading for my grandfather.
For your grandfather?
Yeah, he died in World War II, and I never really got to meet him.
Oh wow! That's incredible. You never got to meet him,
it's actually really sad how he died. I'm like tearing up as I talk about this.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Did he have like a white beard at some point, like white facial hair? Because I'm feeling somebody
he probably did. Like I said, I never saw him, but fuck niggers! 1, 2, 3, fuck niggers! 1, 2, 3, fuck niggers!
What? Oh my, that was not good. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna that was not good. Okay, so we just move along. We take things as they come, and we just. Hi, who am I speaking to? You're on the air with Lauri Albert and Caren Pofsky.
I have a question.
Hello?
I've been terrified. I think I had a past life.
Hello?
I think I did that.
Can you hear me? Okay, so we're having people calling and not being able to connect. So we just move along from these really horrible things. And we just go back to gratitude, right? That's what we do.
Okay, so
gratitude.
This is a great story. Okay, so when my son was little, itty bitty, is someone else calling in again?
Yes. Oh, I think this is the same person as the second
again.
person. Hello, you're on the air with Lauri and Caren. Who am I speaking to?
Can you help me? I think I had a past life, and I think I did 9/11. Can you help me?
So say that again for me.
I think I did 9/11. Oh, I think I did 9/11. Help!
I can't understand you.
I collapsed the towers. Heil Hitler, 1, 2, 3.
Can you understand what you're saying?
No.
I can't
Can you speak a little louder?
Can I get a Kappa fan? Gotta get it.
Okay, yeah.
I think it's a bad connection.
Yeah, I think something was not right with that. Okay, so let's go back.
Anyway.
You just never know what's going to happen. Spirit works in crazy ways, So anyway, so let's hear the story. I want to hear the story about Michael and gratitude.
It's just a quick little story. So when he was little, we used to say what we were grateful for every night. And it was, I'm grateful for my nose. I'm grateful for my toes when he was a little baby. And then as he got bigger, it became more like he would say, I'm grateful for my mom and my dad. And we did it every night.
Oh, that's so adorable.
Until one day he looked at me and said, really, Mom? Which was probably, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9. He told me the other day that he still does that.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Aww.
And
he's 20.
That's so cool. Yeah,
he's 20.
Again, gratitude is everything.
Well, and you know what too? I really want to say this, and I have to say, there are times in our life when really crappy things happen.
Mm-hmm.
There are times in our life when we're just not sure what's going to happen next. But the idea of inserting gratitude in there is life-changing,
mm-hmm.
and it is the most important thing that you can do to create a really great life for yourself. Okay, and I say that really, really sort of sternly because I could take those 2 calls that said some not nice things, and I apologize that for anybody that was offended by what they heard just now. Yeah. So I don't think I'm going to answer any calls for the rest of the show, just so you know. So yeah. At any rate, yeah. So what I want to say is, first of all, I apologize if anybody was offended by those calls. That is not who I am. I'm not even going to acknowledge that after this statement. Okay. We're going to go on with the show because that's what is important to do in life. Okay. However, I will say that I do still have a spirit here. And like that, whatever. Okay. We're not going to stop there, but so I want to say that, and I want to thank you to everybody that is still listening. So thank you. Okay. Anyway, back to the show. So yeah, you take something that's not that great and you insert a little bit of positivity, and what can happen?
Yeah, and I just want to say on that note, yes, no question. But I just want to say to people out there that might be suffering, that might be really dealing with some hard stuff in their life right now. They might be listening to that saying, that's great for you guys. Not so much for me.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's okay. It's just what we're saying is that when you're ready, it's a really, really powerful tool.
Yeah.
But, I'm afraid that people could hear that like, there's something wrong with me, that I'm sad and I can't tap into gratitude right now.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure people are not left feeling that way. Because I know that there were times in my life where I'm sure you told me that 100 times and I probably couldn't hear it. Yeah. So I just want to acknowledge that.
Well, that's the thing, you just have to realize that and here's the other thing too, there are going to be ups and downs, positives and negatives in everybody's life. Because here's the deal. You cannot just always have a high life. You can't. Right. Because if you create the perfect life, you're still going to have highs and you're going to have lows. You can't appreciate either one without the existence of the other. So, yeah. So I think that's a really important point.
Somebody probably very powerful and wonderful, and I don't know who it is, said you can't appreciate the light without the dark.
Yeah, it's so true. Right? It's so true.
You walk into a dark room and you turn on the light, all of a sudden you're grateful for the light that you didn't know was there.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Absolutely.
So, at any rate, that's the story on that. So, it's you know what? You just move forward, right? Okay, so we talked about incorporating gratitude. I also want to talk about, I want to ask you, let's talk about some helpful hints that can, and I'm actually in the process of writing a book on this right now about how to change habits to create a more grateful life, to create a more happy life, right? So let's talk about tips that we can do on a daily basis that we can do that are simple, that can help us create a happier life.
Okay.
So you go and then I'll go.
Okay. Well, I think you and I have the same one.
I know.
That's our favorite.
Probably, well, you know.
Do you want to talk about it or you want me to talk
No,
about it?
you talk
Okay.
first.
So I don't even know where this came up with, but...
Okay, you know what? We do have a caller, and I am going to try one more call.
Let's try.
We'll see how this goes. Hi, you're on the air with Lauri and Caren. Who am I speaking to? Hello? Okay, well, we tried. And I'll tell you what, you know, it is what it is. This is going to happen in life, right? Okay, so your first tip on creating a happier life.
Well, I'm going to say that the word game is probably my favorite. Is that what you were thinking? Too?
No, I was going to go somewhere else, but there's so many. There's so many little tips that we can do.
Okay, so I don't know. I feel like you and I came up with this, but I don't remember when or how or who came up with it, but it's a very powerful exercise nonetheless.
Yes.
So the concept is, and it also comes from meditating, I think. So the concept is you pick a word. So you wake up in the morning and you pick a word. What is your word for today? So, for example, my word for today is gratitude. Let's just say, right? So as you go through your day, or if you want to start with a meditation with the word gratitude, you just keep kind of pulling that word back into your meditation and focusing on that word. And as you go through your day, that word, gratitude, is in the background of everything that you do. So imagine if you put fun. I've done that. And that's really cool.
That is
where you're going to the market, right? And you pick a word, fun. Well, how different is your experience going to be if you chose fun to be the filter that you're looking through?
Yeah.
So I actually have done this with some of my clients. And again, I mean, to Lauri and I, this is just the way we talk and the way we think. So it's, of course, right?
Yeah.
But to the people that I work with, it's a very new concept. And so I've had people get really excited about it. And some of my clients every morning will text me, my word for the day is joy or creativity. It's awesome.
Because it can be any word. That's the fun part.
Yeah.
It can be any word. It can be, you know, it can be courageousness, which is a lot of times my word. You know, it can be any word.
Anything.
It can be cooking. I mean, it can
and
be
it's
anything.
Fun. It just goes back to the playfulness. And I believe that and I'm not a brain person, so I'm not speaking, technically about this, but I've learned for myself that I know you can create new neural pathways in your brain, right? You can train your brain. Mm-hmm. So if you go around saying, I'm beautiful, or I'm happy.
Yeah, right.
And no one has to hear you, by the way.
Right, exactly. That's so true.
At Starbucks.
Yeah.
You could stand in Starbucks, in line and be saying, I'm happy, I'm beautiful. You know, and just see what happens, because like does attract like, and the universe hears you, whether you're speaking out loud or speaking to yourself.
Right.
And you will start getting that stuff back. And what's really interesting with the word game that I found is we don't realize what we're saying to ourselves all day long. And 9.9 times out of 10, it is not, I'm beautiful or I'm happy.
Yeah. Well, and that's another sort of whole discussion that we could have about the voice in our head.
Yes.
Go ahead. You want to talk about the voice in our head that makes us
go,
we can go north or we can go south with the voices in our head.
Well, it's kind of the same conversation, right? That's the whole point of the word. So when you're standing in Starbucks, I don't know why I'm standing in Starbucks. I've been to Starbucks in forever, but anyway. So you're standing in Starbucks and you're saying to yourself, man, it's hot outside. I wish I, had more money. I can't believe I have to go back to work. I really hate my husband. My kids are driving me crazy. I mean, if you stop and listen to what is happening in there, it's crazy. Like, no wonder we're crazy. No wonder we make ourselves crazy.
Yeah.
Now, if you remind yourself, oh, wait a minute. My word today was joy.
Yeah.
None of that works.
Yeah.
None of that chatter will work.
Right. It's two separate things.
That's the point of the word game, is when you catch yourself saying this kind of stuff to yourself, to pull in that word that you created that's much more fun and empowering.
Right.
guess what? Your whole energy, your whole disposition, your whole day is going to change.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the people around you will thank you.
And it's so true, because you know what? If you say it out loud, you can live into it. You know? I mean, it's something that you can live into.
Right.
You know?
And you start to believe it.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
If you tell yourself you're happy every day, you're going to start to believe it.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, if you think people are going to think you're crazy, don't say it to yourself. You don't have to say it out loud.
You don't have to say it out loud. Right. And that goes to, like, we could also have a whole show about this too, is about Louise Hay. She started this whole like sort of empire with Hay House, right? She started her whole thing with just affirmations. Mm-hmm. And she looked, and this was going to be my thing on what you could do to create like a happier life. When you get up in the morning, you know, like some people wake up happy. I'm not really one of them. My husband can attest to that. But I just need a couple of minutes, right? I guess is what it really is. But you know what if you walk into the bathroom and you look at yourself in the mirror mm-hmm. and you say, even if it doesn't feel right, you say, oh, you're just beautiful, mm-hmm. you know, or I love you. That's the hardest thing to say is I love you to yourself in the mirror.
Right.
I would challenge a lot of the people listening tonight to try to do that.
Yeah.
Say to yourself, go look in the mirror, and nobody has to be around.
Right.
That's the whole cool part.
Right.
Nobody has to know what you're doing.
And will you feel crazy? Yeah.
Yeah.
But so what?
But you know what, too? I think that you tend to feel crazy doing it for a while. Mm-hmm. And then after a period of time, if you continue to do it,
I agree.
You don't feel so crazy anymore, and it feels right and it feels good.
Right.
And then you start seeing the changes in your life.
Yes. And then you start to feel crazy when you're talking negative to yourself.
Yes, exactly. And so, yeah, how about that? How to try that on.
Yeah. I
mean, that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing.
It's possible.
You know, I mean, affirmations are so important. And I know this girl who, she had, basically an incurable cancer. Okay. And she went through a lot of stuff, and they basically told her, there's nothing we can do for you. Okay. So she went home. They said, get your affairs in order, but she wasn't having that. She wasn't going there. Right. Now, she did do a lot of like natural, you know, healing stuff. I won't go into that. But one of the things that she did was, first of all, she was young. And one of the things she did was she would put "You are beautiful" at the top, over her bed. And she would put like these positive things over her bed and like on her mirror and stuff. And then one of the other things that she did was she took a picture of herself. And somehow, and I don't remember, this was a long time ago, she took a picture of herself and she made herself look old in the picture so she could see herself as an older woman.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing? This woman is amazing. Huh. Like, she's just she's incredible, right? And, you know, that is the power of positivity right there. Right there is the power of positivity, because it doesn't get any harder than that when you're faced with that, the dire circumstance, and then to create that. And she's alive and well today. This is a long time ago, right?
Wow.
So
that's beautiful.
So yeah, you know, it's kind of cool. So let's talk about another tip. Do you have another thing that people can do to create more happy, to create more joy, what can we do in our daily lives? I have one. Do you have one?
Why don't you go?
Okay. We have so much.
I have one more, but I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, okay. And those of you that are watching that are my clients or that know me know that this is something that I talk about all the time. Meditation. It is. I'm here to tell you. And I told this story a long time ago. Meditation can help you physically, help you emotionally, it can help you psychologically, and it can help you spiritually. I mean, seriously, it doesn't get any better than that, right? So I'm saying that because it brings joy, it brings peace into your life. And you don't have to know how to do it. Everybody, like I get my clients, and the ones that love me,
which are all of them.
Well, the ones that love me know that I push the meditation because I just think it's really important. Yeah. But, you know, if you just take 10 minutes out of your day just to sit quietly, that's really all you need to do. You don't have to go, you don't have to do that. You can if you want. It's like, I like it, you know. But, yeah, so that's my thing.
Now, can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah.
So what if you have a hard time staying focused? That's where I'll use the word. Because sometimes for me, when I meditate, I've got monkey brain and I'm all over the place.
Oh, so, I talk about that all the time. Yeah. It's like when you start thinking of your to-do list, like, oh, I got to go to the grocery store. I got to get rice for dinner tonight. And I got to get, you know, all this, whatever, you know. You just very gently say to yourself, okay, come back. That's all you have to.
So you don't have a word. That's really.
Some people have a word. Some people have a word. Some people do the Ho'oponopono, which I love, and it's 4 phrases. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you, and I love you. And I tend to do when I get in my sort of laundry list of the day. That's what I'll say to myself. I'll say, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Over and over and over again. Or sometimes I'll just say, I love you.
You're saying that to the universe.
You know? Yeah, I'm saying it to the universe, you know, and it's beautiful. And you know what? And it keeps you in that higher vibration. It keeps you up. It keeps you, you know, and you just bring yourself back and you don't make yourself wrong because there's no wrong. Right. That's the whole thing. And that's my biggest question that I get when I talk to people about, and I know my microphone is like so messed up here. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put it here. That's the biggest thing that people say to me that they have a problem with is that, you know, I start thinking or I fall asleep or this or that. Well, you just don't make yourself wrong. Just like move forward and just start over. Just keep going, you know. And you don't have to do it forever. You don't have to do it for 4 hours. Just do it for maybe 20 minutes. You know, it is what it is. So yeah, so that's my big thing. And again, I actually did a whole show a couple weeks ago on meditation. So, I mean, that's kind of who I am. I love, you know, meditation.
No, you inspired me to kind of tap into that. It's hard. For me, it was really hard. It was hard to just be quiet. But, and I've also noticed that sometimes it's hard for me to just sit.
Yeah.
So I like to sometimes walk around.
Right. And some people,
as long as it's very quiet, I feel like I'm meditating. Yeah. Washing the dishes, that can be meditating.
Some people can meditate and, you know, walking. I mean, it is what it is. So.
Right.
So anyway. Yeah. So now what's your other tip?
I guess I was just going to talk a little bit about energy because to me, and when I talk about energy, I like to look at energy like if you draw a line from 1 to 10 with 5 being in the middle.
Okay.
So everything from 1 to 5, let's call low energy, and everything from 5 to 10, let's call high energy.
Okay.
So it's absolutely normal that we bounce back and forth all the time. And so when I think of happy, I think of being, you know, like 5 to 10.
Okay.
Right? So for me, when I think about tips for happiness, I think about energy level being low versus how can we get the energy level being high.
Okay.
So how do you raise your energy level? Yeah. So you know, it could be as simple as, for me, it's lacing up and going for a run and putting on some great music and being outdoors. Yeah. That changes my energy every time.
Now, you know what's interesting about this is that I call that vibration. It's the same thing. It's the same thing, you know?
It's the same thing.
Isn't that interesting? So go ahead and finish what you were saying.
Or even just putting on music, singing along to music. Yeah. Right?
Do you have a go-to song? Do you have a go-to song that you...
Not that I'm willing to admit.
Really? I'll tell you mine if you tell me yours.
I don't know. I mean, I have one that's so funny when you just said that.
What? Go ahead. You're telling millions of people. All the millions that are going to
REO Speedwagon. See, you're laughing.
No, but what do you hear mine? Go ahead.
It's time for me to fly.
See, that's great though.
It's just so fun. And of course, I Will Survive.
Oh God.
Oh yeah. You hate that song?
I just can't stand that song.
So every time I send it to you and I'm thinking, listen to the song,
I'm not having it.
Good to know. All right, good to know.
My song?
Yeah.
Dancing Queen by ABBA.
Ah.
I swear to God.
Okay. That's a good one.
And you want to hear how crazy and weird I am, I cry when I hear that song.
Really?
I cry like a baby.
Really?
And I love it. I mean, it just instantly, it's like, if I'm at a 3, instant 10.
Wow. Yeah, music is amazing. Music definitely has that.
Yeah. I mean,
And
it's not,
certain
it doesn't work that way for everybody, but for me, and I guess you, it does. So
I think everybody probably has some kind of song that would change their mood, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So
that's
funny.
hysterical.
I can't believe I just said that out loud.
REO Speedwagon and ABBA.
Yes.
And there we have it. I like that though. No, I'm not gonna.
No? Okay.
So yeah, it's just interesting how, everybody has their thing that, for some people it's just taking a run, like you were saying.
Right.
For some people it's doing this or doing that. It's all different types of things.
But here's the thing, like you're asking me how do tips on being happy.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing I would want to know from someone is, why do you want to be happy? What does that look like to you?
Mm-hmm.
Because you know what? Me being happy
Yeah.
and you being happy might look like 2 totally different things.
Yeah.
The people in Texas right now, they just want to be dry
Yeah.
and have a place to live.
Yeah.
They're not looking at, anything bigger than that right now.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone, and maybe that's not a great example, but everyone's happy looks different. So I would first want to know, what does that look like to you?
Yeah.
Happiness.
Yeah.
And then where are you now on a scale from 1 to 10 with happy?
Right.
And what could we do to inch you up? And again, it's not, tips are great, but people have the answers within themselves. People know what makes them happy,
Mm-hmm.
right?
So I guess, we're starting to wind down our time here, but
Really? Already?
yeah, I know.
Wow.
But what I want to do is, I was thinking it would be fun to create like a little bit of homework for our friends out there.
Okay.
So, what can we have? What can we tell people, or what can you're the life coach. What could you tell people to do that could start them on a path to figuring out how to be just that little bit happier in their life and find that joy,
Right. That spark of joy and follow it. I would say to do some soul searching. I have an exercise that I put people through. It's a values assessment. And again, I'm happy to do complimentary sessions with anybody and pass this along.
Okay.
But to really get to the bottom of, what are your 3 values, your strongest values? And again, everybody's different.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So figure out what those values are. And then from there, once you kind of get to know who you are, then what was the question you asked me?
Well, what
can you do?
Like, what can we do to start on that road of becoming happy in our lives? So just like the first beginning.
Right. So first I would say, what does happiness look like to you?
Okay.
Okay. So I would say that's a place to start.
Okay.
Then I would.
No, but I mean, like, what can they do? Should
I
they
would
journal it, or?
Well, you could journal. That's a good idea. What does happiness look like to you? And write it out specifically. When I'm happy, I will be, and just write exactly what it looks like.
Okay.
A really fun exercise to do is, let's say that you and I don't see each other for a year, right? Mm-hmm. And it's a year from now, and we see each other at a party, and you say to me, what's going on? And I get to tell you what I'm doing in a year from now, and I get to make the whole thing up. I get to write this whole story now about what is going to be happening in a year from now. Okay. Just play with it. Again, for me, it's about having fun, being light, being playful, and doing the word game. I would really suggest that people take that on. I would suggest people wake up in the morning and say, what's my word for today? And find an accountability person that you can text that to. Right.
That's what I was just going to say. I think it would really be helpful if you found somebody, a partner in this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've been so lucky because we've partnered in this for a long time. So it's like, it's second nature. And one of the things, when Caren and I were, talking about her coming on the show, we were talking about the fact that, our relationship is such that I don't want to say we don't allow ourselves to be sad, because God knows you're sad sometimes. It's just the way life is, right? But what happens is that, like, we don't see each other in that way. So in sort of a grateful way, I look at you up here, and I hold you in a different spot then you probably hold yourself sometime. And, you know, and so my point is that if you have that one person, or if you have, if you're lucky enough to have several people that you can just have those amazing conversations with and hold each other accountable, I think it's makes all the difference in the world.
I feel so lucky just by you saying that and reminding me of how lucky I am to have you. Because really, I mean, we do hold each other. We hold the space for each other, and we remind each other who we are. And that's so beautiful, and it's so unique. Yeah, it is. And you're right. There's no story. There's no drama. Yeah, right. You know? Right. And we've been through a lot of life together. Yeah. So, I mean, the whole thing there is to find somebody that sentimental about our friendship. No, but it is. An accountability partner is very important. The word game, I think, is amazing, and that can be a game changer. And gratitude. Yeah. How about keeping a gratitude journal?
Yeah. So there you go.
There you go.
So those are some tips. And you know, so that's what we want to say about today. We wanted to talk about tips on how to be happier in your life. So thank you very much to my guest, Caren Pofsky. She's a life coach. And you can, for now, reach her through me. My email address is Lauri, Lauri, at laurialbert.com. So you can reach me through there. And I'm on Facebook at Spiritually Lauri. That's my Facebook page. You can like that page and send me a message through there. And thank you for joining me, I should say. Next week, I'm going to have what do I want to say? Psychic medium Cheryl Murphy on the show. And we're going to be taking calls, and they're going to be better than these today. And we will be giving mediumship readings. So if you're interested in getting a reading and from a loved one that has passed, please give us a call next week. My show, Spiritually Speaking with Lauri Albert, is on every Tuesday at 5 o'clock on my Facebook Live page and on my YouTube channel. And, you know, just enjoy your life, have a great week, and stay happy.
Thank you for watching Spiritually Speaking with Lauri Albert.